What is up, and welcome back to 24 Minutes of Not A24, the podcast that takes a look at things outside of the A24 library, literally 24 minutes at a time. I'm Ethan Simi.
And I'm Ben Lawhorn. This week on the pod, we are checking in, but not checking out, as we talk about the 1997 live-action movie starring a young Kirsten Dunst and the most unsexy person from 3 Men and a Baby, Steve Guttenberg. We're talking about Disney's Tower of Terror.
Also, Jan from The Office. Shout out.
Yeah.
You love to see it. This movie's logline: a disgraced reporter investigates an abandoned luxury hotel where 5 people mysteriously disappeared 60 years earlier. Our expedition into Disney theme park movies continues. We are doing this because they exist. And they're, quite frankly, a lot of movies that we haven't seen, or it's been a very, very long time since we've seen. Also, Disney's coming out with a live-action Haunted Mansion this week that this podcast comes out.
Oh, yeah.
And we're definitely talking about it next week on the pod. So, we kind of folded that in a little bit, but you kind of recommended Tower of Terror of like, hey, this movie exists. We should watch it. So this is what we're doing for this Patreon. We have 24 minutes to talk about it. If we go over, we will get a hot sauce punishment, and I will just probably never podcast again if I go over 24 minutes talking about the Tower of Terror. But this movie exists. It's a thing. We've both seen it, and we both own the DVD, because really the only way to watch this film is to go on Amazon and buy the Thrills and Chills DVD 4-pack from Disney for $8.98. Ben, we did it. Physical media reigns hard, bro.
Let's make it happen. Yeah, it's something when Disney's like, nah, we don't even want this on Disney Plus. Like, we're good. It's all good.
You
don't
find
worry
this
about
on
it.
your own.
Yeah, if you want to watch this, you can find it. And it comes with 3 other live action movies, all of which would qualify. It has the original Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy. And it has the one that would have been more interested in if I had done some research is actually Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, because it's like written and directed by the dudes from Monty Python. Like, they star in it.
Really?
Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, wow. I totally would have picked this.
You fucked that one up so big.
I really did. I was like, I got Gutenberg in my eyes. I'm like, here we go. We got to do this one. So I don't know. It's something that we can say we've seen. And then the 4th one is the Country Bears Jamboree. So honestly, we may have picked the worst of the 4.
I think we did. DVD, I really think so.
But it's going to make for, I'm hoping, an interesting conversation. I have no idea. We'll see.
We shall see. So this movie is directed by DJ McHale, who also wrote for a show in the 90s called Are You Afraid of the Dark? I totally remember watching this show. Did you ever watch that show?
Oh, yeah. I love that show. It was so good. I looked that up, too, and I saw that he was the same guy that did it. I was like, okay, that makes sense why they hired him to do this kind of like scary whatever. But I loved that show. That show was amazing.
Yeah, it was very good. Starring Steve Guttenberg, like you mentioned, Kirsten Dunst, the very young Kirsten Dunst, Nia Peoples, and Melora Hardin, who I mentioned is Jan in The Office. This movie has an 89-minute runtime. It is essentially a made-for-TV movie. I think we should talk about this fact that, like, when I was watching this the first time, it basically, I don't know, played for like 15 or 17 minutes or so or whatever. And then it's literally like a television show where you, like, get to a really interesting, like, story pivot, and then it, like, goes black for 3 seconds, and then when it comes back, it like rehashes the last 5 seconds of what you just watched. And I was like, you know what? Kind of refreshing, to be honest. I was like, man, these OG movies kind of like kicked ass. It brought me back to like Disney Channel days.
Yeah, and I think with a purpose, because I guess this is technically part of their The Wonderful World of Disney series where they did TV movies. So this was definitely cut for that. But I will say, I think this is the longest 89-minute movie I've ever watched. Like, normally you and I are just like, oh, a tight 90? Fuck yeah, like I'll watch anything. And it's like, this felt really long to me.
I have never, okay, here's the thing, and I will back you up on this. I will corroborate your story. So if any listeners are like, maybe I should check out the Tower of Terror, you really got to have some pretty miserable downtime to be like, we should check out this 89-minute movie. I don't go on Instagram anymore. I just don't. You run our Instagram handle. I'm on Twitter and Threads, and like that's what I prefer to be on with every second of my life. And I was on Instagram scrolling through pictures during this movie. Like, it was that dull where it was just like, let's do this thing. Let's wrap this thing up. I don't really know what we're doing. It's not great. Let's just say that. I mean, let's like talk about the movie. You rated it higher than I did on Letterboxd, only by a little bit, but
Really?
still, yeah. I think you gave it 2 stars. I think.
Did I? Oh wow.
I gave it a star and a half. I was just like, this isn't it, man, and it never was, and it's tough.
I guess I was feeling generous because I did
happy.
not think I would have given it 2 stars, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, when you tell me that Kirsten Dunst and Steve Gutenberg are in a movie, I'm like, all right, cool. It's like at least there's gonna be something there. And I will say, like, I think Kirsten Dunst does a pretty good job in this movie. Like, I didn't like hate her in this movie. Um, you know, Laura Harden's accent, I don't know what she was doing.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because there is a very specific part where she like turns it on really heavy for like 2 minutes and then it disappears. And every time she did it, I just laughed because I was just like, are we auditioning for something here? Like, what are we doing?
I mean, my partner actually, while we were watching it, and I mean, not to relate to another stand-up bit, but she was talking about John Mulaney when, like in Law and Order, and they go down to the docks and they ask someone like, "Oh, did you see this person?" Like, "Oh yeah, I remember him." You know, like doing like this super thick New York accent. It's like that's exactly what she was doing. You know, it was so bad.
She only did it for like 2 sentences. Both times when she's like, "Mr. Hotshot Reporter," and I was just like, hold on, did you just come from like the deep south and now you're out? Like what do we, I guess
that's the thing. I couldn't tell if it was like New York, was it Boston, was it the South? Like I have no idea where she was supposed to be from.
You got to give her credit though, because she is a ghost. So like maybe that's a ghost ability. You know what I mean? Like maybe she gained that in like the meandering afterlife between 2 worlds. Maybe she
Who knows? That was maybe the most interesting twist, I guess, of this movie. But I don't know what Gutenberg was doing. He was going way too hard in this movie. Like he was just doing way too much. Like normally I'm into whatever his thing is, you know, like he's goofy, he's whatever, but this was just, it was such a miss for me, man. Like I felt bad because I knew I watched this before you, and the whole time this is going on, I was like, I made the wrong choice. This is a horrible movie. Like I can't believe we're gonna. I will say right now, I have this many true cinema moments. I don't have anything to talk about this movie. It's like, why would I want to make someone watch this? Like, I know we got to come up with like stuff to talk about on here, and I think we'll be able to talk about it. But it's like, I have no idea. Like, there's some interesting, like, really scraping bottom of the barrel set pieces, like that I think would have been fun. I was just looking at more from the director's perspective of like, all right, you got this Disney check. What are you gonna do with the money? They're filming on location, like at the Tower of Terror. And I should have done more research. I'm curious if this happened like right after they opened, because like if this was, I mean, they've done this before. They did this with the Mighty Ducks. Like they had an actual hockey team, and it's like, let's make a movie to promote the actual hockey team and let's sell merch that way. So like Disney knows what they're doing, but this was just kind of, you know, it was weird to see all these like Dutch angle shots of like the Tower of Terror. It's like, and you know, like they blocked out the entrance for one day or, you know, maybe a week just to get some of these exterior shots of them going in there. And some of that stuff is cool, having ridden the ride. I mean, now it's been redone where it's a Guardians ride, so it's not even Tower of Terror anymore. But it was fun to look at it and be like, okay, cool. Like, it's just like the Easter egg thing of, oh, I know where that's at. I know where that's at. This is kind of fun. But it just felt like such a stretch to try to make any sort of storyline out of this, which is a bummer because like the initial conceit of the ride is like the Twilight Zone, which is awesome. Like Twilight Zone's amazing. Super sick. It's such a great show, such a great idea. And it's a bummer they couldn't go more into that realm, you know. And
totally,
I mean, I know you're not gonna have like Rod Serling or anything like that in it, but I feel like you could have maybe gotten a little scarier and even still kept it a TV movie. But I don't know, it was rough, dude, but they did their best. I
can feel your depression. I can just feel you're just like, oh, this movie just like took it out of me.
I was just, I don't know, it was such a bummer. Like I hate not liking a movie, you know. I feel like even when I watch anything, I was like, all right, I can appreciate what they did to make this all come together. But even this one was just like, this is super rough, you know. And the story of when her mom shows up, you know, to like watch her, and he's like, oh, thanks, I owe you. And it's like, wait,
what's their fam situation here? I was gonna ask,
I was
what
like,
are we
is that
doing?
his ex-wife? Is that his current wife? And it's like, no, it's his sister, which I guess like we're supposed to know
Super
that
weird.
she's the niece. Like it was just some of the stuff was like, what is happening here? Like I didn't understand because he's like, all right, love you. I was like, love you. Is that your wife? Like what? Who are you
Who are
saying that
you?
to? And can we just quickly talk about his character name, like his name?
Go for it. Yeah.
Buzzy Crocker? Like what in the fuck? Kind of like I feel like they were typing in Betty Crocker and it just like spell check to Buzzy. It's like, oh, that's actually a really cool name. I'm gonna do that for my next movie. Buzzy Crocker. Like that is such a dumb name. And Kirsten Dunst is Anna Pedersen. Like that's a fine name. But
Yeah.
Buzzy Crocker is like there's no reason to go that hard with this name at all.
No. Absolutely exorbitant name. It's very interesting. I mean, so you mentioned like the situation of her or his sister essentially that we don't really like know a whole lot about. What this movie does that I think is terrible is it tries to shoehorn in like his past relationship with his basically his boss at like a news outlet and their exes. And literally the first moment that I saw this person, I think her name is Jill, I was like, she's way out of this guy's league. Like, it's not even close. And like, it at least tries, which I guess like kudos, it tries to form something there. But then we get to the end of the movie and they're just making out. And I was just like, I'm sorry, how did we get here? Because you gave him the ability to write about ghosts in the newspaper, and now like everybody's happy. I big miss for me. Really, really hard. I do want to mention it's interesting because there is a Tower of Terror remake that is slated for Disney. We don't have a date on it. We don't have very much information, but what we do know is that it is live action, and it is going to be directed by Taika Waititi and starring Scarlett Johansson. So I don't know. Based on this, you can only go up. So I've got high hopes.
You know what? I genuinely hope they bring back Gutenberg and Kirsten Dunst for some sort of cameos.
That would be iconic.
That would be so good.
See
that. I would love to see them make it back for this. But yeah, what are
they
going to do?
They should go like Scream style and like reference Buzz and be like, oh yeah, that one time this one guy wrote in the newspaper and now blah, blah, blah. Like just toss him in a line. I think that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, it is tough. I will say, like, I wrote down some moments in this movie, and they're not true cinemas. They're just like moments that I thought were worth writing a note about, and I can start with a few of them. I really think it's unbelievable how hard. You said his name is Buzzy, right? That's
Buzzy Crocker.
Buzzy Crocker. This dude is kind of like a hard shell motherfucker because this old lady comes in and is like, I got to tell you this story. My sister disappeared, and it's like a book of spells and all this stuff. And on multiple occasions, when she's trying to basically appeal to his like human nature and is like, you've got to help me, I'm an old person, he's just like, good luck. I don't believe you at all. Get out of my house. And I was just like, this guy's a hard shell dude.
He really is. And it's amazing his, like, I think another unbelievable thing is his fall from grace within the news community. When he explains the story, it's like, like he ran an article based off of something that turned out to be fake. Like he didn't do it intentionally, but the person lied to him that showed him the video. And then suddenly he was just the disgrace of the news community. He could never get another job. It's like, is that how that works? Like, do you really, I mean, I guess if you don't do, your research, I guess that can happen.
Right.
But then he just decides to make the National Enquirer. Like, then he's just like, I'm just going to make up a new magazine now.
Here's my argument against that is because it would have been one thing if it was a fake video, but it was a fake video that involved the mayor taking a bribe from the mob. So maybe the local government was just like, get out of newspaper, you're done because you toasted our mayor. You know what I mean? And maybe he was just like blacklisted politically. And then like you said, he's just like, I guess I'll just like make up, stories about ghosts and take pictures of my niece in alien suits and almost have her head cut off.
It's just crazy to me that like solving this case redeems him. It's like, all right, you're
Right.
good now. Like everything's fine. It's like, well, no, it doesn't make up the fact that he used like a fake story and he's been doing it for the last whatever, like
Right.
7 years. Like he continues now, he's like purposefully creating fake stories. So I don't know, whatever. We're really critiquing a made for TV movie here, but it's just like,
I
it's
mean,
hard. It's like, I wish you'd give me something to attach to here.
the whole movie, the entire storyline of Buzzy is predicated on the fact that like he's trying to get a job back as like a credible news writer.
Yeah.
And the way that he does that is he's like, I'm gonna blow the lid on ghosts. I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna be the guy that tells everybody ghosts are real. And I think that's an interesting positive spin on a story like that, where you're just like, I can do it. I can be back. Also, so that story from the old woman, he's just like hard ass to her, which is unbelievable. I did want to shout out, so Q in this movie, the guy who basically owns the Tower of Terror.
Yeah.
I think his story is pretty fascinating and exceptionally convoluted for a made-for-TV movie about how like his great grandpa was zapped in there and it's been haunted, but he owns it and the estate pays him to upkeep it. And if he ever solves the mystery, he will get that hotel and it'll be his. But he's just like, in his 60 years of life, has never stepped foot in this thing and never tried to solve it himself, which is really weird. He's also FDR from Seinfeld. As soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, cool. He's the guy that tells Kramer to drop dead, which was just a great that guy moment for me personally.
Nice. For me, it was he's in Drop Dead Gorgeous. He's one of the judges in Drop Dead Gorgeous. That's where I recognize him from. But yeah, he's
super funny.
A prime that guy. His story was weird and his reactions to thing too. I think he said cha-ching like at least once, like maybe more, but
he calls Buzzy Chief like 18 times and it was unreal every time. I'm just like, oh, you're a chief guy, huh?
Yeah, you big chief, yeah, he was. I like that actor though, like he's cool.
Yeah, no, he's cool. He could fix the elevator. Obviously, storyline wise, a lot lacking and a lot of just like, let's just say we can't do something so our story can keep living, right? So like, how come the ghost can't take the service elevator, to the 13th floor? And they're like, just can't do it. Won't go past the 11th floor. And it's like, okay. And then they're like, well, how come they can't take the stairs? And then the bellhop's like, we've tried. We can't get past the 11th floor. And it's just like, what? Like, why? What's going on? Like, are you like continually under construction? Why can't you? You're a ghost. Why can't you go further?
Just can't do it. Sorry. Like, yeah. What was that writer's room like? Well, what if they want to take the stairs? Like, they can't
do it.
That's it. Like, okay, cool. Next.
They were just like, yes. Okay. Sounds good. That checks out. I want to ask you personally, if you were put in this situation with the Tower of Terrors, if you were Buzzy, all news drama background aside, drop that baggage at the door. Would you save these ghosts? Do you see it being a fruitful venture to save the ghosts and get the Hollywood Hotel, back on its feet? Because it seemed pretty cool at the very end. I was like, oh man, I wish there was a hotel that was like this.
If you're pitching this to me like that, no, I'm not. But like in the sense of like how he had met the ghost a little bit and kind of gotten to know them, it's like, all right, well now I want like basically the Kirsten Dunst role where it's like, well, I know them now, so I want to help them. It's like maybe that's the case. But if you would just say anything about ghosts being like, nope, no, I'm good. Like I'm sorry, you guys, that's a bummer, but like I'm not getting involved in this at all. Like that sounds super intense to me. And as a pod that's soon gonna be talking about Talk to Me, I'm already like dreading seeing that. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so intense. So no, I wouldn't get involved for fear of something like Talk to Me happening. Yeah.
Do you think ghosts are real then?
I'm just gonna say yes for my own well-being. Like, if I say no, they're state? Like, "Cool, we're gonna fuck with you." Then you don't believe we're real, so I'm just like, "Yep, totally, I believe it 100%."
I know you're all around me. I can hear you. I swear.
Yeah, big fan, you guys. I love it.
Everyone, all the ghosts listening out there. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate the
all
sub.
You
do. I mean, I don't think I would save these ghosts either. Quite frankly, I think the very first time that Buzzy goes into the hotel and something shoots out of the ceiling or the sky and almost like pierces his hand, and he was just like, oh, whoa, and then like walks out of the room, I would just been like, this place is fucking haunted. Get the hell out of this ridiculous place.
Gone.
Get out. Unbelievable. I will say I don't know if I liked, but I guess I appreciated the reveal of like the old lady was the sister of the little girl and like ended up being the witch. And that was like a very made for TV moment, but it still kind of worked for me because I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like now we're kind of full circle and we're all involved.
Well, then they played it well at the beginning where you see the little girl, the brunette, who sees like well, I'm assuming it's supposed to be like the Shirley Temple type, child celebrity come in. And they kind of exchange this look, and it's like, okay, cool. Is this little girl not supposed to be there and snuck in to see like a movie star that she likes? Do they have some sort of issue because they do kind of exchange glances? Like you don't understand exactly what's happening, but there's something there. And it's like, okay, that's really interesting to see. So the callback does kind of make sense. It's like, all right, they did let us know about this at the beginning. So that totally makes sense. And that actually is kind of an interesting reveal because the curmudgeonly old, caretaker, the whatever her name is, it's like, oh, she wanted to kill her. It's like, why would I want to kill her? I love her. It's like, no. Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. Like, you get all your money, your income from taking care of this child. Why would you want to kill this child?
Understood.
So, yeah, it's kind of funny in that sense. But yeah, that was like the most effective thing about this movie. It was actually like an interesting reveal.
Yeah, it was for sure. I think really my main takeaway from this movie is like, I like the Tower of Terror ride. I think it was great. Like you mentioned, it is at Guardians right now, so I'm extremely fascinated to see what the next Tower of Terror movie is, because like they don't even have the ride to be like, go ride this ride. Like maybe they do an overlay or something for the movie, like you mentioned, like promo. I don't know. It is at Guardians right now. I remember riding it when it was Tower of Terror, and it was like it kind of kicked ass. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a great ride. But my main takeaway is just like, I guess watch out for like people casting spells, because I don't want to ever be a ghost stuck in a hotel for 60 years. Like, they mentioned like it's pretty torturous because you only hear the party once a year on Halloween for like 5 minutes. And then it goes away and then you got to be there another year. That just sounds pretty miserable to me. And I wouldn't want to be a ghost caught between two worlds. Like I just don't wish that on my worst enemies.
No, not at all. Can you imagine someone being a ghost and having to listen to this pod once a year? Like they just have to, they get 24 minutes and it's this episode, and then they just have to like be a ghost for 364 days. I can't believe we've talked about this movie for over 20 minutes. It's crazy.
Oh my God. I can't believe this. Literally, we could have summed this up in a tweet. Okay. So would this movie fit in the A24 catalog? I don't know, quite honestly.
I think it could. I think there's a level of it that could, but not as it exists. No.
Not as is. Okay. Next week on the Patreon pod, The Haunted Mansion, like I mentioned, Disney's newest film coming to theaters nationwide. Go see this movie in theaters. We're going to be talking about it for 24 minutes. So it should be a good time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm sure it'll be better than this movie. God, I hope so.
I can't imagine what would be worse. So yeah, let us know your thoughts on Tower of Terror if you've seen it. I would love to know if anyone else has seen this.
We'll send you something if you've seen it. I will send you like a sticker or something.
Yeah, please. And you can let us know on Twitter or Instagram. We are at 24 minutes of A24. Also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, where you can see our regular pod on there. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support on the Patreon. We really appreciate it. It means so much to us. So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Looking forward to next week. I am Ben Lawhorn.
And I'm Ethan Simi. If you've made it this far into the episode, let us know too, because then I will send you a sticker as well. Because gosh, good on you. Well done. Remember, you can check in, but you can never check out.
Dun, dun, dun.
Pew, pew, pew. Wow, we did it.
We did it.
Under time. Look at us.
I love it.
Woo!